Hello, I'm Valentin Mandace from History Houses Romania, Casa de Epoca, and welcome to my podcast. It's the first one taking place in my small urban garden in central Bucharest, where I live. And I'd just like to present you my apricot tree in all its glory. As I said, and over there is a sour cherry tree. It's a project in the making. But let's go to our theme today. It's about the Art Deco architecture of Bucharest and why the ocean liner theme of this architecture dominates the 1930s Art Deco skyline of Bucharest. It's a bit strange for a town which is at over 200 kilometers away from the nearest seashore. And among a population, Bucharest one, southern Romania one, Romania in general, which is a land-based population. It's not a seafaring nation or population. Romania's got a seaside, a coast, only after the war with Turkey, the independence war, which is the Russian-Turkish war of 1876-77, and through the Peace of Berlin, Treaty of Berlin in 1878, gained with the backing of the Russians, and actually the initiative of the Russians, the coast, the Black Sea coast, which is called Dobroja, in proper terms northern Dobroja, because it's the southern Dobroja in Bulgaria too. And that was the first contact of the Romanians with the sea, if I can put it that way, the first proper contact, because in the Middle Ages there were a few decades in the 14th, 15th century when also they had a bit of seafaring stage, let's put it that way, but completely insignificant. So it's not a seafaring nation, but despite that, Bucharest's skyline in the 1930s is characterized by the Art Deco ocean liner theme. If even today, if you take a stroll in central areas of Bucharest, or even less central areas of Bucharest, you can see that is dominated by ocean liners. Houses with portholes, streamlined on the corners, balconies streamlined, and many flagpoles, metallic flagpoles. And if you have a keen eye, you can see that they resemble the side of a boat, of an ocean liner. Sometimes entire ocean liners, apartment houses with a few floors, which like they are going on the waves of the oceans. So it's a bit strange, I have to say. And I haven't seen this preference for the Art Deco ocean liner theme in other Central European or Balkan capitals, for example. Not such a preference in Belgrade, Sofia, Budapest, or even Vienna. Why in Bucharest? So as I said, Romania gained the seaside coast in the 1878, but it took a while to realize its potential. Its potential came only around about the Great War, and especially after the Great Depression, 1929-1933. It's a time when the country has lots of money from oil exports. It's one of the largest oil producers and refiners in the world at that time, a kind of Arab Emirate, but in the middle of Europe. It has a cultured population. The town Bucharest reaches the highest level of sophistication, which was destroyed later on by communists. Now Bucharest is at a very low level comparing with 70, 80, 90 years ago. And a population which had an aspiration to travel. After centuries of being landlocked at the periphery of empires, warring empires, the Ottomans, Austrians, Russians, suddenly they had a seaside, and from there they were able to see the world. And this, the literature of ocean liner is very popular in the 1930s, including in science fiction novels, for example. So that is another aspect of it. So the seaside itself, the prosperity from the oil, sophistication of the local intellectuals and educated class, And another important aspect is that the people were able to travel very easily to the seaside via a high-speed railway from Bucharest straight to Constanța, which is the seaside port, which was booming at that time, was becoming the most important on the Black Sea apart from Istanbul, which anyway was into the straits. So that is another reason, quick access to the seaside. The seaside was much larger at that time, including about 70-80 kilometers of a coast in the south, which is now in Bulgaria, a very spectacular one, which were there. Queen Maria of Romania developed one of her hallmark creations, the Baltic castle. And many Romanian intellectuals and moneyed people went there in the summer, dreaming, sunbathing, and building up villas. So that was another kind of impulse. Another one, I would say, is the fact that the Romanian architects were trained predilectly in France, which also is full of ocean liner in its Art Deco in Paris and other towns. Also, Bucharest architectural scene, architectural business was also characterized by the presence of many Italian architectural bureaus. Italians which were also very much in love with the ocean liner. Apart from that, the town Bucharest being booming and very forward-looking, the ocean liner technology, cabins, portholes, was seen as being very high-tech and thing which is to follow even in the building industry, in building your own house. Also, people were dreaming, like coming back stressed from work. You enter your ocean liner and you distress yourself. You travel to the southern seas. So these things all together, they make, in my opinion, they made a kind of critical mass for Bucharest people to prefer the ocean liner theme. It's a universal theme actually in the Art Deco all over the world. But Bucharest has a large concentration, especially when you take it into the context of Central Eastern and Southeast Europe. So it's food for thought, and I'm sure that many studies can be done in that regard, which will further enlighten why Bucharest people in the 1930s were so much in love with the art, with the ocean liner theme. I think which draws me attention always when I see a big ocean liner house in Bucharest, or even a smaller one, or around Bucharest, in the smaller towns around Bucharest. Also, I make a comparison with the architecture of the United States promoted by Frank Lloyd Wright, mainly about the sailing boats, or the boats in the middle of the prairie, sailing through the prairie. The same is over here. This is the Lower Danube prairie, and those are the ocean liner theme houses are like boats, ocean liners, navigating through the expanses of the Lower Danube prairie, as I mentioned. So I hope that you found interesting this podcast, and we'll see each other next time. I hope that you enjoyed my garden. Thank you, and goodbye.